Jack that body. Get down.
Hello, welcome back to ADSR Pro with me, Mike Smith. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to have a look at the UAD Shadow Hills Bus Compressor. So let's get straight into it. So here we go. What we've got here is a optical and a discrete compressor. Now what we can do, we can use this in dual mono mode or as a stereo compressor. Now if we use this in dual mono mode, basically what happens is each side of this compressor is independent of each other. So if we put more gain on this side, for instance, it'll be louder than this side. And also if we use it as a stereo compressor, basically all the left hand side controls control the compressor. So what we've got the optical threshold and the optical gain. Now the optical threshold on this side I believe is a fixed 2:1 ratio. So what I've got is just a load of drums, basically like a full drum track, and what I thought we'd do is just go through and have a listen. So everything's out at the minute. We will use it as a stereo compressor for this instance. So there's our drums. Now we'll start with the optical threshold. You can see here, obviously we can use it, we can have it as in on, and out as in off. Same with the discrete compressor, in as in on, out as in off. Now if I just have them both in, and as you can see absolutely nothing is happening at the minute. So if I actually bring the compressor in, there you go, you can hear it start to work. So this hardwire switch here basically allows us to turn the compressor on and off, or in and out in this case. And with this, basically if I have it in the out mode, the audio basically completely just bypasses the compressor at all, so you've got no effect. However, we can have it in and we can have both of our compressors out, and what happens is that will just apply a little bit of the tone of the circuitry. So I'll just have both compressors in the out mode and the compressor on. I'm just going to turn it off. Now I don't know if you can hear that, it really is super subtle, but what's happening is the circuitry, a replication of the circuitry, is applying a little bit of colour to the sound, which is nice. So again, let's start with our optical one. I'm just going to bring this in. So again, we'll just increase the threshold. So you can see now it's compressing, and we'll put some makeup gain on. Just going to bypass it. So really nice, really gentle, really subtle. What we've got here is the meter switch, which allows us to go from optical, discrete and output. So these are individual, so we can have them on different settings. So what we'll do is we'll have this one on the optical, and our second one is already set to discrete. So this VU will display these settings, this VU will display these settings. So let's take that out. Let's have a go on our discrete now. Let's turn it on. Now with the discrete, obviously we've got a ratio from 1.2 up to flood, and I believe flood is 20:1 ratio. We've got an attack and recover or release. Basically attack is in milliseconds, so from 0.1 to 30 milliseconds, and discrete or recover is in seconds, I believe, so which goes from 0.1 I believe to 1.2. So let's just put a little bit of ratio on, bring the threshold in, and there you go, you can see it now affecting. Let's give it some gain. So I'll bypass. bring the other one in. Now if I bypass again, you can hear you can get some beautiful, beautiful compression with it. So what I'll do now is I'll go to extremes. Let's take the optical one out. So let's go for a high ratio, super quick attack, quick recover, and really slam it. Take the threshold off. Nice. Now, also we've got a sidechain filter here. So it's out at the minute, which basically means that it's compressing the full frequency range, whereas if I bring the sidechain in, what that does is puts a filter at about 90 Hz, so it basically lets the kick or the sub frequencies through to stop the pumping effect. So let's have a listen to that. You can see there, I mean, even if you go to extremes, it's still just got such a beautiful sound. Let's bring the optical back in as well. Bypass. I mean, I'm obviously going to extremes there and I'm applying quite a lot of makeup gain. But what a difference, what a compressor. So let's take the discrete one out, take the optical one back out, and there's our standard sound, what we started with. Wow. Okay, let's take that one out. Let's bring the discrete one back in. Try a bit gentle ratio. Quite a long attack. Quite a long release. Obviously, the higher you increase the threshold, the more compression is being applied. So you can see they're completely slamming it to death. Let's wind it back off a little bit. Completely bypass the plugin now. Well, I must admit, considering I've only really been using it for the past hour, as I've just purchased this, the quality of the sounds, or the quality of the sound of the compressor, for me just sounds really, really nice. I'm yet to use it in a full mix or, you know, on vocals or guitar. I believe the idea mainly is to use this on buses. However, you can use it on individual channels as well. I'm going to spend a lot more time messing about with this. But even if you're slamming it, it's just still got some really, really nice and rich tonal qualities. So I think what we're going to do is compare this with another UAD compressor, just to have a little listen to the different comparisons, albeit they are different compressors in different ways. They are both still bus compressors. So okay, hello, welcome back, and we're going to continue now with our comparison with the Shadow Hills compressor and the UAD Precision Buss Compressor. So I was asked by Owen on the Cubase Pro group on Facebook how this compared to the Shadow Hills compressor. Now, I mean, straight away you can obviously see it's, I would say, a completely different type of compressor. It's got your standard features, obviously your ratio set at 2:1, 4:1 and 10:1. You've got your threshold filter, which obviously goes from off up to 500 Hertz on this one, as opposed to the fixed rate, I guess, of 90 Hertz on the Shadow Hills. You've also got input level, output level, a mix, which the Shadow Hills didn't have. That's good in this instance, I'm guessing, because you can obviously use it almost like parallel compression. And you've got attack, which goes from 0.10 milliseconds to 32.93. A release, which goes from 0.1 up to auto, and a fade, which I'm not sure what that is. So let's just, I'll move it back to default. Okay, so let's just play our drum loop and have a little listen. So that's it bypassed. And that's it in to start with. So what I'm going to do is take that filter off. We'll put a threshold of 2:1. Take that completely off. Right, so let's just apply sort of a gentle compression. So we'll set that at 2:1. We'll have an attack. Let's have that quite slow, quite a slow release. So a real nice gentle compression. I'm going to put it up to 100% so we can hear exactly what the compressor's doing to the sound. So I'll put it in bypass first. So there's our drums. Let's bring a makeup gain back down. Okay. So now let's just gently wind our threshold until we start getting some gain reduction. About 3 dB, so let's boost that. So there you go, pretty standard. Let's bring threshold down, let's start to just work it a little bit. Here there, it's made it a little bit more slappy and stuff like that. I'm kind of noticing that sound wise it's you know, it's not really adding much to it. Don't get me wrong, it's compressing and it's real nice, and it's actually really transparent as a compressor. Again, let's go to extremes like we did on the Shadow Hills and put, you know, a lot of ratio on, and I'll just keep tweaking the parameters, and let's have a listen to how it stacks up. So let's go to 10:1. Obviously super compressing it. Bring the filter up so it's letting the kick and bottom end through. Let's push it a little bit. Bring this mix down as well. So that's nice for me now. Now you're sort of bringing that mix in, and you're getting a bit of the compressed signal as well as the dry signal, as if you were parallel compressing. It's starting to sound nicer for me. Nothing. 100%. A little bit of both. Let's just keep tweaking. So, I mean, they are two completely different types of compressors. Let's just bring the Shadow Hills one back in. Just bypass that one. You could hear the circuit noise there as well. So, let's just... So there you go. I mean, for me, I think they're both very, very usable compressors. I'd like to say that they are different. Yeah, this is more your standard compressor. The Shadow Hills is just a little bit different sounding, I feel, and I feel the range of sound within the Shadow Hills compressor is better. This is kind of transparent, and yes, you can hear the compression happening, but it doesn't necessarily change the tonal characteristics as much as the Shadow Hills compressor. That's my opinion. Don't get me wrong, I am definitely not a master in all things compression, and I'm certainly not a mastering engineer by any means. I do really like the sound of this precision compressor though, don't get me wrong. I'm not completely against it, and to be honest, it's probably a damn sight cheaper than the Shadow Hills compressor. But yeah, I mean, I kind of wanted a Shadow Hills compressor mainly because it looks great. I'd really like to own the real deal. However, I can't see that ever happening. But I'd used it previously on my friend's UAD setup, and again, I really like the sound of it. So yeah, there you go. Not a massive, you know, guaranteed black and white test, but at least you've got to hear them both and hear them both together. And yeah, I hope you can take something from this. By all means, I don't work for UAD, nor do you know, I work for Shadow Hills and recommend you buy that. It's just a case of I thought I'd do a little tutorial to see if it was any use to anybody. So until next time, bye bye.